I'm so glad to talk to you. We have many news from Cirith Ungol, right? So I want to start this interview for asking you about this return of the band. So it's been like decades from where you started, and now you are back. So how was the feeling of being back in the business, see everybody again?
Yeah, well, it's been amazing. Although these last couple of years or year and a half has been hard since the pandemic hit, or I should say a year, because Forever Black came out April 24th last year. Yeah, it seems like 2 years. I don't know why, but everything was going really good until this worldwide pandemic hit. Not only the world in a tailspin, but the entire music industry and our band. But other than that, yeah, no, it's been amazing. I swore I'd never touch another drumstick and I'd never play again.
Why do you think that everything went perfect? I mean, you guys were in touch with each other in these years. I mean, was it easy for you guys to be back again? Like, well, you are all individuals, you have your own stuff.
You know, once we decided that we were going to get back together and we got a band room where we could practice, that's always, you know, when you're in a band, the hardest thing to do is find a place to practice. And I know you're probably a musician too. Most musicians, you know, you want to crank up. There you go. So, I mean, I live in a house where I can't have a drum set because if I played my drums here, I'd be arrested and put in prison for playing too loud a noise. So once a band got together and we found a band room to practice, we were fine. And we were a little rusty, that's for sure. I hadn't played drums in like 25 years, but you know, it came really quickly. And I think other people will be surprised at this, but as soon as we got that band room, we started working on new material. So even though we were focused on playing the live shows and, you know, playing all our old classics that everyone wanted to hear, we were hard at work trying to come up with some new songs.
Yeah, and you Cirith Ungol made its way back to Brazil in 2015, right? In Setembro Negro Festival. Do you have any good memories of this visit?
Oh yeah, no. Brazil was fantastic. When we got to our hotel, there were some fans that we'd been listening to the band, and they were at the hotel and wanted to meet us, and they brought their albums, and we signed autographs, and it was an amazing. And then the show, I think we had a good show there. A lot of people showed up. It was only a couple of blocks from our hotel, so we'd walk back and forth, and it was amazing. Yeah, no, we loved it.
Yeah, well, that's nice. I hope to see you soon again after this pandemic. I read comments on the internet when I think it was like last week, saying that you guys probably were born on the wrong side of the Atlantic. Do you agree with this statement?
Yeah, you know, the whole band, I think, you know, Tim said this before. It's not only that, I think we were born out of time. Our goal had always to play traditional heavy metal, you know, which came from the earliest bands that I started listening to, you know, Blue Cheer, Mountain, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, all those bands, when they first came out, we started listening to them, and that's the type of music that our band wanted to play. And we decided to stick with that, although the music scene went through the, you know, the disco age, and then the hair band, and then the speed metal band, and all sorts of other, and now you have black metal and death metal, and there's nothing wrong with any of that, but our goal was always to play the super heavy, pounding metal. I just love that, and to this day, whether it's a brand new band I hear, or I go back and listen to one of my original albums that I had, I'm still just really affected emotionally by that type of music.
Yeah, and well, if you take a look to your career and back in these days, well, now do you feel like you did the right choice? Would you change anything, or was it meant to be?
I think it's what it was meant to be. I'm not sure you can change the future. I know you can change it personally by making decisions, but I think as a group, um, you know, we wouldn't have been happy. I don't look good with blonde hair. You know, I'm the wolf boy today. That's one of my Cirith Ungol alter egos has always been like the hairy wolf guy. So I don't think that, you know, I'm not sure I'd be good as a blonde wolf, but I think we made the right decision. Now for financially, no. Our record company wanted us at one point to start wearing. We wanted just our whole image to be one of heavy metal, you know, and so and then you know, as music started getting faster and faster, we never really felt comfortable playing that fast. Matter of fact, when I was growing up, the punk movement was really happening, and a lot of those bands were some of my favorite bands, Iggy and the Stooges, the Dead Boys, some of those early punk bands, and they were playing really, really fast. So when we heard the metal starting to speed up, we saw that as kind of like a cross between metal and punk. And once again, there was nothing wrong with that, but we did not fit into that mold. What's amazing, I got to tell you though, to me, slower is heavier. That's why sometimes I'll hear some of these stoner doom bands and I am blown away because it's so heavy. And we played with a band Warning. We played with, you know, a lot of those early bands, Trouble, and some of the bands are on Metal Blade Records. To me, the heavy pounding stuff is always the heaviest. And I go back and listen to, you know, Frost and Fire's 40th anniversary is coming up. You know, I'm getting ready to go play again, so I'm playing along with some of our albums. You know, getting to get back in the swing of stuff. And I'm surprised at how fast some of our original songs were. And I think now that we're playing them live, we're actually slowing them down a bit. And I don't think we're doing that necessarily on purpose. I think we're just doing it because that's how the songs feel. But when I play, like, let's say for I'm Alive, I'm playing along with it in the band room, and I'm having a hard time keeping up because it seems so fast.
Okay, and well, you are celebrating 50 years of your career with the EP, #Human, and it's basically old songs that kind of unfinished songs from the past. How was the idea of releasing these EPs?
Well, part of our contract deal with Metal Blade was to have a full-length album, which was Forever Black, and then there was an EP on there. And I think we could have done whatever we wanted to with it, but so many people had asked us if we would re-record some of our older songs. And at first we really thought, you know, hey, we're getting older. You know, we just knocked out Forever Black and everyone really seemed to like Forever Black. And I thought it was a really good album, and we kind of wanted to hey, let's put out another full-length album, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, exactly. And especially at our age, you don't know when, you know, when you know, when the Reaper's coming to get us, right? So, but we started thinking about it, and I think we agreed that we were going to put out an album of some older material that we would breathe new life into to make it more powerful and heavy. And I keep going back to heavy because the core of the band is based around the heaviest music that we can write and play. And so we thought if we pulled some of our songs from our past and once again, just kind of like, you know, cranked them down a little bit, you know, or pounded them up a little bit, that we would end up with some new ideas for some of our older music. And I think it was a good idea. We actually grouped together those series of songs because they all had something in common. They had this like a beast theme. Route 666 had, you know, meeting the beast or the devil out on a lonely highway, Shelob's Lair about a giant spider monster, Brutish Manchild about a race of half-human men that hate regular men, and then Half Past Human about evolution in reverse, where we've actually reached a plateau and we're going back down the other side. And the Michael Whalen picture we picked for the cover was called Weird of the White Wolf, and it showed Elric with his sword Stormbringer stabbing this half-human, half-beast warrior. And I think all that came together, and we were pretty happy that the whole theme encompassed this sort of beast-like image. That makes sense.
And well, you talk about Forever Black. I read a comment on the internet saying that the record sounds like it was recorded in the 80s. Well, it's a good thing, to sound like that. In which way do you agree with this?
Yeah, you know what's funny? I've talked to several people about the same question, and we're excited that everyone thought that it sounded like that, because when the band got back together, we decided to kind of pick up where we left off. But when that album was recorded and we were making it, everyone in the band thought, hey, this is Cirith Ungol 2.0. So this is a new version of Cirith Ungol. And we thought it was really modern and updated, and we recorded it digitally. And then all our fans said, hey, this sounds just like the old stuff you did. And I think that made us happy too, because our goal wasn't to change our music or change what we were doing. Our goal was to just put out some new music, once again, in that same traditional heavy metal style that we love. And so, yeah, that was amazing. Another thing that struck us was funny was when Witch's Game came out, many writers said, wow, Cirith Ungol, they can still write music. And it sounds like Cirith Ungol. And some of us in the band were always joking, well, that's amazing, because, like, let's say the Beatles got back together. I don't know, they're not all alive, but let's say when they were still alive, if they got back together, they wouldn't sound like the Rolling Stones, they would sound like the Beatles, right? So the fact that we sounded like Cirith Ungol and people were surprised by that, we thought that was kind of funny,
Well, in the Spotify platform, I checked that your most streamed song is the song Join the Legion. So why do you think this particular song is your most streamed record? And what do you think that the fans like the most about this record?
Yeah, I don't know why that is. That's a good song. We wrote that song, and that song was to kind of gather, our armies, of true metal to go fight this mythical false metal beast, right? Our goal is to try to, we're not going to try to wipe out or stamp out other types of metal or music. We just want to kind of support the true metal that we see as being, the rightful crown to the throne of metal, and like I said, that's totally subjective, and I understand that. But Join the Legion was to try to gather our forces so that we could march forward in defense of metal, right? And I think at the time, that's when all the hair bands and stuff were going on. And we lived real close, an hour or so away from Hollywood. And all those bands were down there with the same thing. They all had the big hair and playing more like the pop metal. And it just seemed to us like it seemed like an abomination to what we believed in. So at the time when we wrote that song, that's what that was. I wrote the lyrics to Legions Arise on Forever Black as kind of a sequel to Join the Legion. So we need you to rise up again so that we can continue this this battle.
You kind of didn't make many side projects apart from Cirith Ungol. So do you think that Cirith Ungol fulfills you artistically, or you never felt like you should make some other project, something like that?
That's the only band I was ever in, except for when we first got together. We were in a band called Titanic, and just for maybe 6 months or so. And one of the guys in the band, Pat Galligan, actually went on to be in a famous punk band, the Angry Samoans. At the time, he loved the Beatles, and all he wanted to do was play Beatles songs. And the other guys in Titanic at the time, Greg, me, and Jerry, we wanted to start playing heavy music because, like I said, at the time, all these heavy bands were exploding. And this is a true story. I tell everyone this story, but it's true. Right across the street from our school was a music store. And Greg and I were in there one day, and they sold some band equipment, but they also sold records. They had like a little record bin. And Greg holds up Black Sabbath's first album, and he goes, "Hey, look at this band. I wonder what these guys sound like. Are they any good?" And so we were right on the cusp of when all this metal was happening. And not long after that, I remember seeing Deep Purple in rock at another store. You know, we're looking at that too, and we weren't that familiar with Deep Purple's first album, so we thought that was their first album at the time. But we were just blown away by this music. And so we wanted to play that music. So Greg, Jerry, and I left Titanic and formed Cirith Ungol. And later on, when the band was kind of falling apart and we were losing members, and Tim and I were the last two left, and we decided, hey, you know, if we can't play our own music and be in this band we'd been in for 20 years, neither one of us wanted to continue. So that was our thought. Now, Greg left the band after Frost and Fire, and he was in another band, Falcon. But with the exception of Greg, all the other members, we never went into another band. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm curious about. The name of the band was named after Lord of the Rings. A place from Lord of the Rings, right? So I'm wondering if you are a fan of the series, and if you are excited about the new series of Lord of the Rings that is being produced.
Well, you know, yes, of course I am. That's how that's one of the reasons we got together. Greg and I, in 7th grade, which was around 13 years old or so, we had a class, an English class, where they assigned us to read The Lord of the Rings. And so at a very young age, we read that. And back then, that wasn't a very popular book. It was it was 3 books, 600, 700 pages each. And so it wasn't really easy to read. So this teacher assigned Greg and I to read that, and it really had an effect on us. And that's where we got the name for our band. But, you know, I did not even know that a new version was coming out. So I'm going to have to go look that up.
Yeah, it's a series, you know, like 10 episodes, something like that.
Wow. Yeah.
But it's not Lord of the Rings. It's about the Tolkien universe, but before in the lore.
You know, that's another question. One of the most everyone always asks us similar questions. Why do we pronounce our name wrong? Yeah, the truth is that back when I was 13, I probably read the books 2 or 3 times straight in a row. I was so enthralled with them. But I never read, I mean, there was several appendixes, you know, and one told you how to pronounce all the names, and none of us read that appendix. We read all the other books that came along that were released after that. And I think that's what you're talking about, the movies that they're going to make is going to be based on the early history of the elves.
From Numenor, you know, like Sauron back in the day.
Yeah, that'll be good. That's all the good stuff.
Yeah. I hope so.
Another funny story, we were in Germany at Rock Hard Festival at a Gelsenkirchen, Germany. This German reporter, she asked us, she goes, "Is it true that you speak Elvish?" And she asked me and Greg and Tim, and or me and Tim were standing there, right? And we started laughing because we said, well, you know, no, we don't, because if we spoke Elvish, we would have pronounced the name of our band correctly.
Well, Robert, we are reaching the end of our interview here, but I want to talk to you about how is the situation today in your city? I mean, concerning the coronavirus situation, how are things going? How are you? I mean, in all aspects of your life, if you're doing well.
Well, I know all around the world, people are still struggling, and that's true in some places here in the United States too. Where I live in this part of California is pretty good. Many people have been vaccinated, and things are starting to open up again. I don't know whether we're opening up too soon or not, but when I see what's happening in your country and I see what's happening in India, we're kind of where we were, where a lot of people are sick and dying. It's truly horrifying. My spokesman as a band does not reach over into politics, health, or religion, but I want to wish everyone, all your listeners, especially in Brazil, hope that they and their families can stay safe and that we can all get through this together so that we can get back out and continue music.